Jai Shri Ram. Nayanmar's Thiru gnana Sambandar Nayanmar. Sirgali. He was born in Sirgali, Chola kingdom, and the childless couple, Shivapad Hridayar and his wife was Bhagavatiyar. They were childless and they prayed, and finally they were blessed with a baby boy. And one day they went to the temple pond, and the 3-year-old child insisted that he was crying, so he had to be taken. And they kept him on the steps of the pond and they went for a bath. After some time, this fellow started weeping, Amma, Appa, Amma, Appa. And he was weeping for his father and mother. And the father and mother later came. They noticed some milk on the lips of the child. They inquired. Then he pointed his hand towards the Shiva temple. Actually, Shiva and Parvati came, and Parvati fed him, breastfed him. He was suckled by Parvati, and the milk of knowledge he got, and he became a great saint. He was a child prodigy known as Thiru gnana Sambandar. So he went to the Tirukkolakka temple, and with his tiny hands he was chanting. And immediately, actually, as soon when the father realized this, he was shocked and he was stunned. And the child sang a pasuram, Todu Daiva Seviya. And then he was taken to another Shiva temple where he started dancing and singing. Suddenly, miraculously, golden symbols appeared in his hand. Shiva gave him a pair of golden castanets. So, and so many miracles have been performed by Thirugnana Sambandar. He was taken to Chidambaram. In Chidambaram, he was mesmerized by the dancing pose of Nataraja, and he could see with his mind's eye that the priests of the temple were actually Shivaganas, attendants of the Lord Shiva in Kailasam. And he showed his friend Yalappanar this celestial site, another Nayanar saint, Tirunilakanta Yalappanar. He gave him that vision also. He cured the daughter of a king, Malava king, of a strange illness by singing a hymn to Shiva. He revived, brought back a man to his life. He was dead because the woman was crying, and he chanted a hymn to Shiva, and her husband came back to life. He was given mysteriously a bag of gold coins with which he fed all the people during the famine. In Madurai, he defeated the Jains and re-established the importance of Shiva Shaivism. He was invited by the Queen of Madurai, Mangayar Karasiyar, and the minister Kulachirayar. They were Shiva devotees, but the Queen's husband started patronizing Jainism. And so the Queen invited Sambandar to come to Madurai, and because she was pained at the sight of the declining influence of Shaivism and the growing influence of Jainism. So Sambandar, along with other Shiva devotees, went to Madurai. He was given a warm welcome by the Queen and the minister, and later on the Jains took the king's permission and set Sambandar's camp on fire. The Queen told the king to allow an intellectual debate. Anyway, the king agreed, and they both came together for a debate. And the angry Jains set all the Shiva devotees' camps on fire. So when Sambandar came to know about this, he prayed to Shiva, and strangely the king was suddenly struck by severe stomach pain, excruciating pain. And people told him that he has hurt Shiva devotees, that is why he is having this pain. So the Jain monks said they will cure him. So the Jains tried to cure him, but they failed, and Sambandar cured him after singing some pasurams to Shiva, and this was the first defeat of the Jains. So he miraculously cured, of course the Jain monks chanted all their mantras, but it didn't work. And as soon as Sambandar sang a few hymns to Shiva, the king was relieved of the pain. But Jains were not willing to accept the superiority of Shaivism, and then they said we will have one more test. So all the holy scriptures of Jain religion and Shaivism, they were brought and kept in a giant fire. So they said that those scriptures which are resistant to the fire will be accepted as the true ones. And you can guess what happened. To everyone's amazement, the Jain scriptures were immediately burnt to ashes, whereas Sambandar's scriptures of Shaivism remained as they are. The king declared that the Jains have lost for a second time, but the Jains did not accept that. They said, we want to have a third test. This time they said, okay, we will we will put all the scriptures on the river, in the waters of the river Vaigai. Vaigai river flows through Madurai. And the religion whose palm leaves float in the gushing river waters will win. Accordingly, again the same thing happened. The Jain scriptures sunk in the river waters, whereas the manuscripts of Sambandar floated majestically in the river. Finally, the king pronounced the superiority of Shaivism and banished all the Jains from his kingdom. So, the lost glory of Shaivism was re-established in Madurai. If you study Satyartha Prakash of Dayananda Saraswati, he rips apart Jainism and Buddhism completely, ruthlessly, even Christianity and Islam. You must therefore read The Light of Truth, Satyartha Prakash, founder of Arya Samaj. Okay. Now, next is the turn of Buddhists. So Thiru Gnana Sambandar went to Thiru Kollampottur, where Shiva temple was there, and he reached a place where a great Buddhist center was there, Bodhimangai. And when they were crossing this place, the Shiva devotees were chanting and blowing trumpets, and the Buddhist monk got infuriated and he started scolding them. And one of Sambandar's disciples got terribly angry. His name was Samba Saranalayar, and he prayed to Shiva that this monk be struck by lightning for demeaning Shaivism. And immediately the monk was struck by lightning. The other Buddhist monks were terribly angry, agitated, and they became very aggressive. And they said, okay, let's have a debate. And so Samba Saranalayar himself debated. Thirugnana Sambandar did not find it necessary. So his disciple defeated all the Buddhists, and they also, after losing the debate, Buddhism is very easy to defeat in a debate anyway. So this is how the Buddhists also re-embraced Shaivism. Next, Thirugnana Sambandar returned to Sirgal, and along with Yalappanar, he went on a tour, and he saw the hill, Thiru Annamalai, Ramana Maharshi. On reaching Tondai Nadu, he was approached by a Shiva devotee who said he planted a garden of palmyra trees, but they all turned to be male trees, so they are not yielding any fruits. And he was mocked by the Jains nearby. The Jains started ridiculing him. Your Shiva is useless and he is not able to grant your prayers. So Sambandar again sang a song, a hymn to Shiva, and all the male palmyra trees became female trees, and they started bearing fruit. Again the Jains were defeated, and they finally all of them accepted Shaivism. So Sambandar went on an extensive pilgrimage. He went to Sri Kalahasti and so many Shiva temples across the country. And when he reached Mylapore in Chennai, there was a Shiva devotee who had a beautiful daughter whose name was Poompavai, but she was suffering from some kind of an illness, and it was actually because of a snake bite. And finally she died, and the distraught father had to conduct the funeral rites. He collected her ashes, and he was so disconsolate. He asked Sambandar to bring back his daughter to life, and yes, that's what exactly he did. Sambandar prayed to Shiva, and because the girl still had longevity, so she was brought back to life. And the father offered his daughter in marriage. Sambandar refused, saying that now his daughter is like his own daughter, because he brought her back to life. So the girl became his daughter. So Sambandar refused to marry her. And by this time, Sambandar, Gnana Sambandar reached his 16th year, and his father Shivapada Hridayar and his mother Bhagavatiyar, they decided to get him married. And so he was married, and many Nayanars also attended. Tirunilakanta Nayanar, Murugan Nayanar, all of them, many of them attended his marriage. And Sambandar sang several pasurams. He also sang the famous Panchakshara Padigam. And Shiva granted him and his wife moksha, and they reached the holy feet of Shiva. This is the rich legacy of Tirugnana Sambandar. And even today, there are many Jains and Buddhists who still continue to try to propagate their religion, which has been roundly defeated by so many Hindu saints, including Shankaracharya. Ramanujacharya once defeated 1,000 Jain saints in a single sitting. And it's such a miraculous event. We will discuss that later. Jai Shri Ram.